What's up guys, it's Raccoon back with another video, and in this video I'm going to be going over my 6-month experience with the iPhone 7. I have made a video similar to this, but that was just when I just got the phone, so I didn't really have much experience with the phone. And now with 6 months of experience with it, I can really give you a full idea of how it is using this phone every day. While this phone is 4 years old, it still packs a great punch. Even though the specs might not be that great, the actual user experience itself is fantastic. It uses an Apple A10 chip, which is actually a really good chip considering they use it in a few other devices which are still very modern. They use it in the iPad 7th generation and the iPod Touch 7th generation, and people have loved those products and it hasn't been bottlenecked by the processor. The processor itself is actually the best part of this phone, I'd say. It's very fast and you won't experience any issues there. I personally didn't experience any lag or drop frames or any skipping of a beat with this phone pretty much. In gaming as well, it's also been really good. Of course, mobile games are not very intensive, but it still runs really great with mobile games and things like that. The phone is also equipped with 2GB of RAM, which in 2020 standards is really low, considering even new Apple phones which are going to be coming out, the iPhone 12 will have like 6GB of RAM, and all the other phones have like 12 or 8GB of RAM, while this thing's only got 2. So you will experience a bit of apps shutting down in the background when you want to open the back up again, but since that process is quite powerful, it easily opens them back up really quickly. So this shouldn't be a big issue for most people. I'm a pretty heavy user with lots and lots of apps open in the background, and it still is perfectly fine for me, because when I switch back to an app that closed down, it just opens up quickly because of that processor anyway. And moving on to the battery life, which is the worst part of this phone by far. The battery is a 1960 milliamp hour battery, and this is quite small for this type of phone. Like my Google Pixel is about the same size, and that thing has a 2800 milliamp hour battery, while this is only 1960, so it's a lot lower, and well, that definitely shows. It runs out of battery about halfway through the day, and then I have to charge it back up again. Now this is quite a worn battery in this phone, so a battery replacement will surely fix that, but that costs a fair bit of money, and it actually costs almost about half the price of the phone, so that's not really worth it. So if you are going to buy a phone, try and buy one that has about 80 to 90% battery health. I bought mine with 80 and it's already got 72, so it's definitely dropped down a lot. And moving on to the display, which will definitely be considered out of date because of those huge bezels and the low resolution. But from my personal experience, it's actually been quite fine. The bezels, you definitely get used to them after using the phone for a bit, and the resolution isn't noticeable at all, unless you look really closely. Of course, if you're comparing it to like a flagship Note 20 Ultra, that thing has the best display on the market, of course you're going to see a difference. But for a budget user like me, it doesn't really matter. From day-to-day usage, you won't notice. And especially if you're coming from a phone that's lower than this caliber, because you're going to be upgrading to this, of course, then you will definitely not notice a difference. And the camera on this phone also doesn't disappoint. It's a pretty mid-range camera of 2020 standards. It's 12 megapixels and it has a decent amount of detail with a nice amount of HDR that Apple implemented in there, so it takes good photos. You won't be disappointed, but you also won't be stunned like with the Google Pixel, which takes a lot better photos. And the video capabilities are also quite good. It does 4K 30 and 1080p 60, 1080p 30, 1080 120 for slow-mo, and then of course 720 240 for slow-mo. And the design of this phone is actually quite nice as well. While it doesn't look that amazing or anything modern, it does feel very solid in the hand and quite premium with that aluminium design, and it definitely doesn't feel like it's going to break in your hand or anything. It feels very solid. And this design is actually shared with the iPhone SE 2020, so people from the front probably wouldn't be able to tell them apart, which is nice there. And they use very similar displays, so that's also good for if you want to replace the display or something. So with all those specs out of the way, my personal experience over the past 6 months has been very good. It's very fast and it never skips a beat. Of course, the battery life was one thing that I was quite disappointed about, but once you get used to just bringing around a battery bank with you or just plugging it in just before you leave the house, which we can't really leave the house of now, but if you were, then yeah, you'd get used to that quite easily. And so the battery isn't really a big issue. Just bring a battery bank with you and you'll be fine. And the performance itself is really good. I love the iOS experience compared to Android. It's a lot smoother and it's more optimized. And also for the past few months, I've been using it with iOS 14 beta, and that has been a bit buggy at the start, but now with beta 5, it's actually really good. I'm very happy with the experience. It feels very fast, and so I'm excited to see what iOS 14 has to offer when it completely comes out. But as of now, I'm really happy with the experience. I like the widgets, I like everything that it offers. So yeah, I would actually quite recommend upgrading to the beta, the user beta now. So yeah, so that's been my experience over the past 6 months with this phone. If you did enjoy the video and if you did find it helpful, drop a like on the video. If you didn't, drop a dislike. Remember to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.